Yerrrrrr! It's motherfucking Friday, everybody. How you doing?
I'm happy it's Friday.
Hell yeah, man. It's your boy Burr Oaks 77 coming to you live with Josh. We got a 132 game college basketball Super Saturday slate. I've been working my tail off all day with soccer. Today's college basketball. Tomorrow's college basketball. I've been staring at this screen for like 12 hours. I'm cracking a beer. We're going to run through this. I have 5 picks for you guys today on the record, and I have a bunch of leans that I'll rattle off at the end. So let's get it started with a little bit of recap from how we did on Tuesday's show. Not great. But as everybody knows, it was an absolute bloodbath this week, midweek in college hoops. We had 8 top 25 ranked teams go down to unranked opponents. So yeah, 1-4 really isn't great, but compared to how the board looked, it's not terrible either. So college basketball is high variance. We're going to see a lot of upsets, and that's why I love it. I love it because the games are engaging. A team can be up 25 in the first half and still lose the game outright. So that's why I love college basketball. Richmond gets us home. Loyola Chicago did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Richmond played good defense, made their free throws. We got the +3 cover, and they won outright on the money line. So if you sprinkled that, then you cash the money line as well. Houston, free throws are an issue. And again, Josh, good call out on asking for the under, and the team total under definitely hit as well. Very nice performance by Iowa State. Very tough barn to go play in. Yeah. Houston, I am very worried about you playing a Big 12 schedule. It's going to be a gauntlet, this AAC ball. So get used to it. Wake Forest -2.5. Look, I can't do anything about this one. Wake Forest played a really good game. Florida State shot a season high from the free throw line, made a bunch of threes. They were feeling themselves in their building. They were also wearing the baby blues. And I say this all the time on Twitter, if you're wearing sick alternate third home kit, if you're wearing murdered out blacks or baby blues and you're going away from your regular colors, that needs to be front page news on Twitter. You don't get to wear baller ass new pimped out uniforms and then take an L in them. So I just thought that should have been bigger news. Kansas State Westvaw under 141.5. I think this ended at it ended at 145 or 146. I know it crept all the way up to 142.5. Listen, KSU hit 60% of their balls from the field in the first half. The first half had a lot of points. I want to say it was 82 or 83. And then they started bricking, and this under was very live. If you took it live at half and double dipped, you might have gotten yourself a wash there. But yeah, Kansas State, one thing to remember going forward is they don't defend as vertically, and they put more guys at the free throw line more on the road. So I needed to dig into those numbers a little bit better. Colorado State just couldn't bounce back. It was a tough game. I'm not going to make any excuses there. You got to be better, Colorado State. Tuesday's show, like I said, 1-4 we'll call it 3 units. You can read up the graphic. Yesterday, I went 1-1-1. I'm really mad at myself. I told everybody to take U of I -2.5. I got caught up doing a project. I could only find -3 without paying for the hook. So I made -3 official. It was a push. But a lot of people from Twitter and Discord took the -2.5. They did have to lay -120 on it. But hey, that's why the 3 and the push and the hook, they're so important. And that's why I spent a lot of time talking about it. I also had a player prop ladder that fell flat on its face, unfortunately. So I took a bunch of losses midweek. We're 17-1-23 now for 2024. Got to make a couple of these units back. We're 73-2-67 for the season. Still up 1 point. We'll call it 2 units. So feeling good heading into the weekend. And love the board. Love the board. There's 35 fantastic games on all day. So I'm excited, Josh.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we're going to get into it, man. I always love the comparison with how many games there are in college on a Saturday, especially compared to what we've got going on in the NBA, where people are like, there's 10 games. I don't know how to follow all this stuff. It's like, well, you're not going to be able to watch 10 games at once, man, or even the 4 that are on at one time. In college, it's like, it's just from more until you wake up till you go to bed. There's college basketball on, and I'm not complaining. But yeah, you've got to look at the numbers, obviously, a lot more oftentimes than being able to just use an eye test on a specific team, because there's just not enough time in the day, literally, to watch that many basketball games. But I'm pumped to get into it with you here, man. We had a really good reception on the channel as well. So let's get right into those bets for him.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So I'll kick it off here for you and talk about Seton Hall +5 at Butler here. And going with Hall, right? This one's at noon on the East Coast. Everything here is on the East Coast. So that's the last time I'm going to specify this for you people. And it's on FS1 there as well. So you guys can definitely get that in most places as long as you have some regional stuff there. So Seton Hall +5, rather. You're taking the dog there, right, on the road?
Yeah, and this opened at ±3. And then people got a hold of it, and it quickly walked out to 5. I like Butler at home. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Butler at home, they're very tough. Their only loss in their own building is to your UConn Huskies, who are straight up hooping for the second year in a row. They do what it takes to survive and advance in the Big East. It's a war zone like we're going to talk about here. And the Huskies look good, and they're a very good team. Hall is looking absolutely fantastic as well. Like I said, I like Butler. I love Posh Alexander. You guys have heard me talk about him a couple of times on various platforms. I think he's a really, really good player who stepped his game up to be in NBA conversations at the end of the season. He's a St. John's transfer, and he knocks down his free throws. It's one thing he worked on a ton in the offseason. However, Seton Hall as a team are not much better, but they're significantly better than Butler as a team from the stripe. I have a lot of faith in Seton Hall as a unit, with even their rotation guys who come in. It's just a really good basketball team that does the little things right. Hall is better at making free throws. They have a better shooting percentage. They get in the paint. They score points in the paint. They get offensive rebounds. They make their second chance buckets. They defend the paint really tough. They don't foul, and they have ball security. And those are all of the things I look for when I'm going to back a team. So even though I liked Butler here and I wanted to kind of talk myself into the -3, when I saw this swing out quickly to +5, I'm taking Hall here. I don't even mind a sprinkle on the money line because I think they could do it and beat Butler outright in their own building. But I think 5's too many points. If this walks out to 6, take 6. I wouldn't even sit around and wait to see if I get the 6.5. I'm fine taking the 6 there and risking the push. So I like Hall here. I think that they are playing really good basketball. And with all the upsets we saw at the top of the table, the Big East has a lot of teams sitting up there.
Yeah. It's starting to resemble the Big East of old, even though these teams aren't located quite as close to each other as they have been in the past. Either way, I think the thing about Hall is like their only losses are really good teams, right? So there is sort of a battle tested approach, like aspect to this that you could say for the Pirates, that they're not really necessarily worried about playing even in a really tough building, and obviously what's always been a really tough place to play at Butler. But this is a team that doesn't seem to be afraid of it. With obviously I love the biggest college cliche, senior guard play. They got veteran guard play, which is like what every pop analyst comes out and says when March comes around, like, does this guy have a senior on the backcourt? But in this case, like that is the sort of bread and butter of their team. So it is, you can rely on it even more so.
Yeah. The one thing I will mention too, real quick before we move on, is Butler. They've gotten some really close backdoor covers at home. I watched them play a couple of overtime games there. Like, Butler is good, and the fans do show out, and the barn is rocking, and it is a tough place to play. I just am not comfortable with Butler trying to cover 2 possessions in a game this tough.
Yep. Awesome. Another fun one. We go back to talking about these Wildcats here, and they're back on the road in another, tough matchup here against A&M. That's at 2 p.m. on the East Coast on ESPN Dose for everybody watching there, either on broadcast or you can obviously get that as well online. But the Wildcats here, it's like just kind of rinse, recycle, repeat. Just like they can handle it in a tough environment. They hit their free throws last week, so this is probably one where you still feel comfortable backing them as dogs on the road.
Yeah, I mean, they won a really tough shootout in the swamp. They made one of the things I always say is kind of a really tough mistake, especially as a road dog. You're up 3, you don't fall. Luckily, the 3 ball clinked off the front of the rim. Same thing with U of I last night. They were at home, but Sparty was absolutely breathing down their neck. If that 3 ball goes in and they go to overtime, it's going to be tough to come back because Sparty was rallying from down, and you just don't want to give a road dog momentum heading into overtime, especially if, as the home team, you're the team in foul trouble. So just fall and give up the 2 free throws. It's not about the cover at that point. Again, that's fundamental basketball stuff. As a gambler, I was super stoked they didn't foul, and I got that late backdoor push / cover. So, like, whatever. It's one of those things that, like, I'm going to still call out bad fundamental basketball when I see it. But as a gambler, I'm super happy your coach is an idiot and you didn't ruin that back door for us. But anyway, Kentucky, they hit their free throws and they go to work in the paint. And that's one of the, if you're not hitting 3 balls, which again, I'm not super high on the analytics. Yes, I know 3 balls are the more valuable shot on the floor, but teams that live and die by the 3 just don't move the needle for me the way teams that live and die in the paint, draw contact, and get to the free throw line and knock down their free throws do. Those are the teams that are going to be tough to beat on any given day. And that's what UK is. And A&M is playing outstanding defense. They have a very tough defensive unit. But guess what? Right now, they cannot buy a bucket. The last 3 or 4 games in a row, they've been able to squeak out wins and covers by staying in the low to mid 60s. We just watched UK go down to the swamp and drop almost 90 on the road in a very hostile environment. A&M is going to be hostile. They do show up. They're crazy fans down there. College Station is a tough place to play. That said, I keep seeing I would love to hate Kentucky with everybody who hates Kentucky, but these kids are just playing way too good at basketball, and they hustle, and the coach has them disciplined, and they're a fun team to watch. Even if you're a Kentucky hater, like you just gotta appreciate good basketball when you see it. And UK is playing good basketball. Give me the points, sprinkle on the money line if you like. I might wait and see if this does kind of exactly what it did last week, where it walked out from +1.5 to you could get 3.5. So I might sit and wait on this market a little bit, depending on how late you're going to be up tonight. But just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, no, this is a good opportunity even early because, like you're saying, if you're going to go into an environment like that in College Station, then you want to be able to rely on things that are easy buckets, and that's what they get, right? They score around the rim. They have athletes that go and get it around the rim, and then they make their free throws. And I mean that's basically been a staple. Although there have been Calipari teams in the past that didn't make their free throws, but yeah, this one we've got here is definitely going to break the mold with that. So everything else, as long as it's there, then that's what you rely on, is like that good fundamental play that doesn't get rattled by loud fans that are in your face like that.
Exactly.
So let's move on to this third one here. We got SDSU, baby, San Diego State, and they're at New Mexico. What a classic matchup here out in the desert. +2.5 you've got for San Diego State, or a money line bet, which we'll talk about. You catch that game at 2 p.m. on the East Coast on CBS there. And I do think it's a similar concept here, right? Like, I know we keep targeting these road dogs, right, in college basketball, but there's so much high variance with that. It's awesome. And what I love about the picture you're talking about here tonight is the fact that these teams that you're taking as road dogs have this consistency to them, this dependability, right? And because the things that they do are centered around getting easy buckets, and you're not worried about the variance of shooting, whether from the mid-range or even shot selection, because you know that their shot selection is going to be either a 3 or something closer to the rim, going to the basket. And that's what you always feel consistent and good about.
Yeah, and look, I know that it doesn't play in the NBA anymore, but for me, there's nothing better than watching good, skilled big men play the game. Dudes who are just 7 foot and taller, who don't care who's around them, are going to get their elbows high. They're going to come down with rebounds. They're going to disrespectfully go to the rim in your face. And if they can make their free throws on top of that, it's my favorite shit in the whole world. San Diego State here, they do all the little things right. They get points in the paint. They get to the line. They keep the ball secure. They do all of those things that I like to see out of college teams, and they are old. They have a bunch of grad transfers. They're seniors. They're juniors. I think they only have one sophomore, and he's on the bench. The other thing I love about San Diego State, which is why they made a deep tournament run last year, they started the season with a bunch of injuries, and they had 10 guys that they were comfortable giving 20-plus minutes to. When your coach has that much faith in your bench depth in college, that makes you a very dangerous team, even if you're not scoring buckets. Knowing that you can go to your defensive anchor when he's in foul trouble and you're in the second half, he's got 3 before like 16 minutes left, and you can go, I need you to stay vertical. You cannot pick up a 4th foul before that under 8.5 minute media timeout, and he will not go do it. So that's what I love about San Diego State here. That's why I think they have the edge, even though they're going into a hostile environment in the Lobos Arena, because Lobos start 2 freshmen, and they are electric, and they are super talented, and they are fun to watch. And you know, there's always an X factor when you see that many freshmen. That's what Xavier has going on right now. They start a lot of younger underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomores that are super fun to watch, but they're inconsistent. They haven't been in these moments, and they don't know what the difference between hitting a good basket is and a clutch basket that'll help you put the game away or keep a game within reach. And San Diego State does. And that's why we're going to back San Diego State here. I like them plus the 2.5. I think that is a significant enough number that I'm not going to say, hey, just take the money line, even if we get a little movement. If you can get 3 here, I love that. If this walks all the way out to 3.5, I love that even more. But I do think San Diego State can go on the road and get an outright dub here as well.
Love it. Yep. Let's keep it out west. We got these late games that we're moving through. So BYU at UCF. I want to say USF. UCF, not USF. 4 p.m. Got that on ESPN Plus between these two teams. And it's just kind of one of those things where one team is just much better than the other, regardless of how far they need to travel. And as a result, you can still get this at like 5.5. So, you're liking the favorite.
Yeah. So UCF is coming off of a major upset win at home in their building versus Kansas. BYU's not Kansas, but they're very good. And listen, BYU has made a commitment to their students and their athletes that they want to get very competitive programs in there. They've committed to spending NIL money. There's a lot of different things that go on there, but listen, there's a lot of deep BYU donors that have a lot of business connections throughout the Mormon community, and they shell out funds to get athletes not only in the building training, but take care of their scholarships, take care of their NIL deals, make sure they're doing well, and it's working for them. They're getting recruits out the wazoo. They're very competitive football, basketball, across the board. And if you make the switch to the Big 12 conference, that's the kind of financial commitments and athletic commitments you have to make to go get coaches and go get players that will allow you to compete at the top levels of the Big 12. And I think BYU's done that. They're coming off a tough loss. They need a bounce back here. UCF, they're very one-dimensional. They only do one thing really well, and they do it really well in their building, and I got to give them a lot of credit. They play absolutely outstanding defense up there with Houston, up there with other teams that you just know, hey, listen, these guys are going to make it a rock fight. Here's the problem. UCF can't score shit from the floor, and when they get to the free throw line, they're okay at knocking them down, but BYU is balanced. They defend super hard, and they're towards the top 25 in the country in both offense and defense. They're a very balanced attack. They can drop 80. They can grind a game out. That's first one to 65 wins the game. UCF can't drop 80, especially not on this BYU team. So BYU's got adaptability. They can shift gears. They can play different games. And look, UCF, you're coming off an emotional high. You don't have to travel. Yeah, weather throughout the country is a little jacked up, and I'm worried about some of these games tipping off. But I just worry about you getting up in your own building, which, yeah, you might have some more fans show up, but I still think this is going to be a relatively empty gym compared to some of the Big 12 bangers we're going to get in other parts of the schedule here. Give me BYU. I think they cover the 5.5. I love this number getting under 6. I really like it getting under 6.5. Those are very key numbers. 2 full possessions of 3-point shots is key for me here. So give me BYU on a bounce back, minus 5.5 this Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. We're just in the 4 p.m. time slot here, guys. We got plenty more coming.
So much more basketball left, including this one that we have all the way out on the West Coast, not that far from myself here with Santa Clara, man, and all their NBA players these days that they have just floating around the league making impacts. But St. Mary's is going to be at Santa Clara. That's even closer to me. 7 p.m. ESPN Plus. And I mean, look, this is going to be a fun game. These two teams meeting together is usually fun in this gym. But I still think like the craziness, like don't sleep, man, on how insane it is in Santa Clara. There's nothing else going on in that. I mean, as is the case in a lot of college towns, but like this one especially is close to other big cities. There's nothing going on, right? If there's no 49ers game nearby. So this is going to be another good one. And honestly, St. Mary's might have an even bigger home court advantage, but obviously they're on the road in this one. So
yeah, and you cannot understate how impactful having a barn like Santa Clara is to the game. You saw, 17, 18, 20,000 kids out in force rushing the court on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday night when they beat Gonzaga by 1. And they show out like that to every home game. This barn is electric. These fans, these students, these athletes, they're all bought in. They know that they are getting flat out disrespected in this conference. This is a program that's been building for years, and it's finally all coming to fruition. You take this win over Gonzaga with the shot of the students rushing the court, you plaster it all over social media, and you think this soft-ass St. Mary's team is going to come in here and try and out-fraud you on your home court? Not in my building. Give me Santa Clara. Give me the plus 4.5. St. Mary's been soft all season. They've had some atrocious losses, non-conference play, neutral courts. You know, their tournaments, whatever. You can say they were just rounding into form for the season, trying to figure it out. I don't buy it. I watched them play. They're soft. They play bitch-made basketball. Santa Clara does not. Give me the home team and the points. Home dog, you got to sprinkle that money line. I'm going to say it every time I take the dog. If I'm taking the dog and it's not a double-digit favorite where I just go, this is simply too many points, the money line's worth a sprinkle because I'm not backing the dog if I don't think they can win outright.
Yeah, exactly. With college basketball, as much as any sport that you could possibly bet on, do I believe in that, right? I think there are some spreads in the NBA that matter because there's a difference at the end of the game. Guys can pull from 38 feet, and that's a normal shot for them. But
completely different when you can hit fucking shots from the logo, dude.
And not only that, but when it's like if you put someone to the foul line, there's no 1-and-1, first of all, and second of all, everybody is an 80% free throw shoot. I mean, nobody's worse than 70 unless you're Andre Drummond. So yeah, this is a different beast here, and the 4.5 is a great number. Obviously, if it goes up at all, we don't need to hear you in the comments with well, what about 6.5? Yes, we would. Clearly
the answer is more is always better.
Totally. So yeah, I'm with it. I like the card you got together here, man.
Dope. So that's the 5 I have that I could take the time to break down for you guys.
Yeah.
So we're taking Hall plus the 5 at Butler. Gonna be a tough game. Gonna be a great classic Big East battle over on FS1, kind of the home of the Big East, especially the first game of the day in the Big East. Love some F1 Big East play that tips off at 6:30 conveniently, like during the week. So you get that nice little early Jones taken care of on your college basketball. Then we got UK heading down to College Station and A&M. We're back in the Wildcats here. That's at 2 p.m. San Diego State heading down to New Mexico to take on the Lobos. This is also at 2 p.m. We're back in SDSU. We're back in the veterans. We're back in the guys who do the little things right. And listen, no discredit to the Lobos. It's just when you give me 5 guys that are deep and rotate off the bench and they're all soft, there's one sophomore on the team. Everybody else is a junior and senior. And that team went to the championship last year. Yeah, I got back the veterans here. BYU, they're just flat out better than UCF. Shout out my boy Brad Thomas. I know he's a big UCF guy. Very nice win against Kansas. I think you're in for a little bit of an emotional letdown here when Brigham Young comes to town and brings the Thunder after getting disrespected last game. And then we got Santa Clara plus 4.5 at home, who just took down Gonzaga midweek, stormed the court. Look, this is electric basketball. This barn's absolutely rocking. You heard me say enough about it. I love these guys over St. Mary's. Real quick, before we take off today, I just want to run through some other games I have strong opinions on, but I can't sit here and break them all down for you. First of all, Miami plus 2.5 / money line at Va-Tech. Miami's too fast. Going back to what you said, they have superior guard play. They have 4 absolutely outstanding guards. They've made deep tournament runs. Nigel Pack is the absolute truth. They're looking at, I also love, what the hell is his name? Omir, number 15, the big forward / their version of a center because they play with forward guards. But this dude's mobile. He gets rebounds on the offensive and defensive end. He can dime. He's got assist moves. He gets putbacks. He's vicious around the rim. The only games Miami has lost and failed to cover on the road are games where he's fouled out. Just throwing that out there. So yeah, I love Miami plus the 2.5. I also like them on the money line. We don't respect Va-Tech in this building. VCU minus 3.5 at LaSalle. VCU is coming off a big outright dub as a road dog against George Mason. I really want -3 here, and would pay -115, -120 to do it. I think that number kind of moves around a little bit. VCU on the road, they're better than LaSalle, both ends of the floor. I do it to myself every week. St. John's is the bane of my fucking existence, dude. I love this team. I hate this team. I don't understand this team. I think I have this team figured out. John's at Creighton. I really want to take John's on the points here, but Creighton is just playing absolutely phenomenal basketball. Problem with Creighton is they have Clackburner. He could have put up 30 and had 20 rebounds against Providence, but he just didn't do it. And because Creighton just fell in love with bricking threes from the outside. So I could see St. John's covering on the road here. That said, the rotation they ran against Providence when they were up 20-6 to rest your starters and then bring them on with like 7 minutes left, never really let them get warm, let that game slip away from you, and then run your starters the entire second half, which was fine, but like they also needed it to warm back up into that second half when Providence was already shooting the lights out of the building. So have some problems with how Johns has been running their rotations. I like the under here at under 151.5. If this moves up to anywhere around 154.5, I love that. Grab the under. Yes, it's in Creighton's building, but both of these teams can defend, and I've just seen Creighton brick way too many threes. Oklahoma at Kansas, I got to take the under here. Both of these teams are excellent. This is a great Big 12 game. Kansas starts off really slow. They haven't been covering shit all season. Same with Oklahoma. They can't cover the number to save their lives. I think both of these teams have like 9 or 10 total covers together. Davidson at George Washington. George Washington on the money line. I'm fine with paying up to minus 125 here. Davidson off of back-to-back home losses. George Washington is coming off of a huge road win at VCU after a triple home overtime loss where they bounced back super strong. This whole George Washington, George Mason, VCU, Dayton, Davidson, like that whole conference is fucking stacked and it's electric to watch. So be sure to tune in. SMU minus 5.5 at ECU. Listen, gotta show up for this game. Gotta have some heart. You took a tough loss in Memphis. You should dismantle this ECU team by double digits. Give me the Ponies on the road here. Kansas State taking on TTU. Kansas State, we said that they put guys at the free throw line a little bit too much in that Westball game. TTU, all they do is knock down free throws. They're a top 20 program in the country from the charity stripe. I love the over here. I think it's a touch too low for a college game, over 139.5. I think that's a very advantageous number. Anything under minus 140 there. Under over 140 there. I apologize. JMU minus 4.5 versus at home to versus Appalachian State. This just simply isn't enough points. Anything better than minus 6 here, play JMU. Troy minus 3.5. I really want minus 3. They are a home cover wagon. I want to say they've covered 14-2 this season, especially at home. They're a wagon. TCU plus 5.5 at home versus Houston. I told you guys Houston are kind of fraudulent. Give me the Horned Frogs playing very good basketball. Took Kansas to overtime, just beat Oklahoma in their own building. Very tough barn to play in. If you get plus 6, 2 full possessions, I've told you that's super key. Some mid-major stuff that I can't even get lines for right now. Drake at SIU. Going to be a banger game. Give me SIU. I really like what the Slookies are doing this season. I think this game goes over as well. SIU is going to be pushed out of their comfort zone, and they're going to need to make buckets in transition. Northern Colorado played an absolute banger last night. They got a kid that dropped 30. They're playing Montana State. They just beat Montana, who's way better than Montana State on the road. So keep an eye out on that. Northern Colorado, a little fun to watch there. And then last, finally, before we get the hell out of here, I know I took up a bunch of time, but that's why I'm going quick fire with these. Bama at Mississippi State. Under is 155.5. Mississippi State, all they do is play defense. They slow the ball down. Yes, I know Bama likes to play in transition. Yes, I know all they do is take threes, get to the rim, and try and draw contact and make their free throws. I still think this is too many points, and I think it's going to close a lot closer to 159.5 than it is 155.5. So watch this creep up. If it gets anywhere near plus 160, pull the trigger on the under here. And that is all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate Josh for having me and helping me drive the show. I am exhausted. This is 33.5 minutes, even after we edit out the front end a little bit. But I am exhausted. I am ready to get the fuck out of here. That is Talking Hoops with Oaks.
Peace.